Sorry about that.
The broadcast is live. I was going to say, it doesn't say it's live up in the corner.
We are live. Oh my God. We switched over to Ethernet this morning, so we should have no problems whatsoever. I've been going crazy over this. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We have my good friend on, Randall Kenneth Jones, and we're going to be talking about, and by the way, I hate you. There's so much Christmas magic in here and fun. This is the book we're going to be talking about today, Ruby.
It's magic-y. It's magic-y.
Yeah. Magic comes from the heart. What I loved about this, we'll wait till a few more people get in, but Randy, well written, my friend. And
thank you.
I had a lot of fun reading it. It's an easy read, but I'm the whole time I'm reading it, I'm thinking this is going to make a great Hallmark, holiday special movie.
Because I would be very happy if that were the case. That would make me very, very, very happy. So I want the movie bad. I'm not going to pretend I don't want the movie bad. I want the movie bad. Okay, bad.
Well, my thing is, as a fellow writer, as somebody who's also an author, it's just well written, and I've been having a lot of fun. Like, I'm reading it and I hear your voice. Okay.
Well, I mean, people, yeah. That's a. Now, did you truly get to finish it? Were you able to finish
I'm this close to being done. I'm every twist and turn, I'm like sitting there going, what's next? So
it's surprising how many twists and turns there are, because it's a really short book.
Yeah. Well, our listeners need to know this, but this was produced by Mark Victor Hansen.
Mark Victor. Oh, okay. Can we say some stuff before we really get going?
If you want to.
Hello, London. Hello, Sydney. Hello, Tokyo.
Mozambique. Yes.
No, it was in a Nauru. I said, they always say, like, it's London, Paris, Rome, whatever. And so I picked that I did the shout out to Japan, Australia, and London. And I looked for the smallest country I could find in the South Pacific, because I thought those people in that little country need to be here too.
Absolutely.
I'm picturing that in Nauru, Nauru, on this little island, there's a bar right now. Right. And in that bar, they are showing this.
Oh, yes.
On the bar. and a little cute little island that I think measures like 2 miles by 3 miles. I don't know. But it was very, very small. So my husband said that because we don't know the time of the day that this people will be watching, because of course this is worldwide, that every time that they drink, every time we say Ruby. Now, so Ruby. That was the first idea, that every time we say the word Ruby, which of course is the title of the book, they drink. Then he suggested every time I name drop, they drink, and we could have them drunk within 10 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah. We do a very short show, because they'd all pass out 10, 15 minutes in. So
then we'd have to double up on our Ruby references, because Ruby likes to wear rubies in the book, and a lot of red rubies. There's 3
Ruby is would you agree that Ruby is, now that Ruby is a perfect name for her?
It is. It's 100% perfect. But let's officially get started, and I want to hear your journey on the book, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't done this already, and it's so rare to have a book at this time of year that comes out that just is for adults, by the way. It's called Ruby, Magic Comes from the Heart, and it is definitely a holiday. It's going to be a holiday classic, and we're rooting that it gets made into a movie. But here's what I want to say. As a fellow author, somebody who writes as well, there is not a single wasted word, and it flows beautifully. Everything is just, I found myself sitting forward as I'm reading it. And here's the funny part. I sat down for the first reading and I realized I'm 50 pages in. That's how smooth it was. And I really enjoyed that. So, let's talk. How did this all get started?
You're doing great. No, I don't think I should say anything. I think you should just keep going, talking about how much you loved it. I'm good with this.
Yeah, I did. I love it. I want everybody to get it, because this is the kind of book your kids could read, your teenagers could read, your 90-year-old grandma, your meemaw, because it's got that, I was thinking about what to describe it as last night. And so it's the Golden Girls. It's A Wonderful Life. It's a Christmas Carol because there's a ghost, a little bit of a ghost twist in there, because they're in Savannah and they're talking about all this stuff. Some of the names of the people are people I know, and it's got everything. It's got that holiday magic. It's got that fun that I think we've been missing for 20, 25 years, because you see in some of these movies that production values are quick and it's all about this and that. And this is one of those where if you're of a certain age, you're going to go for walks at night in your community. You have a small cabal of friends, and I'm just picturing everything happening. But I want to thank you, my friend, for putting this out, because creative work is just that. Sometimes we start something and we don't see it all the way to the end, and you did, and it's magic. And I'm loving reading it. I'm not done yet. I'm almost done, but I'm sitting there and, I don't know what else to say. I'm having fun.
So it's a mystery. It's a mystery, which makes it very difficult to know what to say, because there's so many things. It really doesn't. There's no idle time. Chapter 1, it starts, as you will agree.
Yeah,
it starts pretty immediately. There's a major incident in chapter 1. So the fact that it's a mystery really limits us as to what we can talk about. I will say to you that one of the things I'm really happy about that kind of dovetails on what you're saying. Did you notice that you as a reader get to make a lot of your own decisions about what you believe to be true?
Yeah.
And not.
Yeah.
And that was something I'm incredibly proud of. And people of all ages are responding, even though the characters, you talk about the Golden Girls, the main characters are 59 to 90.
Yes.
Yet people in their 30s and 40s, women and young men who are reading it, are responding just as passionately as the older readers. And I did a TV show recently, and they asked me, "Do you think you know why that is?" And I do know why it is, because I didn't write old people.
Yeah, you did.
I wrote people.
Yeah.
I'm in that demographic. I'm 60, and things do hurt, and I do have aches and pains, and I do have things that I can complain about. And that's the last thing I want to read. And that's the last thing I want to write. And that's the thing I want to worry about. And so I didn't write old people. I just wrote people on a journey to find that they mattered, to find that they were relevant, to discover that they were important, to find that they had a mission, they had a purpose. Because I live in Naples, Florida, with so many people older than me. And let me tell you, all the money in the world does not buy you a sense of purpose.
No, it doesn't. And and it's rough. But here's what I loved about this. You captured the personalities, like Paula. Paula reminds me of a like Shirley MacLaine could play this part.
Okay.
Smart ass,
Okay.
Talks about sex openly. Has code words for it. Says what's on her mind. Outrageous. And then Cynthia's, she's like sort of the wallflower. She'll take a few risks, but she's the logical one who put her career on hold a little bit. And
she more than put it on hold. She adopted her husband's career,
right,
as opposed to her career. Really and that's not uncommon.
Yeah,
I run into that down here quite a bit. And Cynthia, who is really, even though Ruby is the title character, Cynthia is the main character, inspired by Cynthia Rhodes from Dirty Dancing. I was lucky enough to meet and chat with her. Cynthia Rhodes, who played Penny in Dirty Dancing. I believe I'm the only journalist she's talked to or really allowed to write about her in 30 years. She made a decision that I admire and respect. She left Hollywood to raise her family, and I kudos to you. I applaud you. That is a decision that worked for you, and I applaud every aspect of that decision. But the press in Hollywood got left behind. So I was very lucky that I met her. I was so charmed by Cynthia Rhodes as a human being that I created this character inspired by her. It is not her story, but it's what I say. It's inspired by her goodness. It's inspired by her humanity and her complexities, because she's a complex, interesting woman who doesn't have any problem trying to figure out what's best for her. And, she thinks. She's a thinker. And my Cynthia's a thinker. I will say, my Cynthia also, as you notice, goes jogging in a Pat Benatar t-shirt.
That I thought that's how it opens. I mean, it's pretty much. I was like, for ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know Randy, he's been. I think you were on the second or third season of my show, and it's one of our most listened to episodes. But Randy, or Randall Kenneth Jones,
Randy
is the host of his own incredible podcast, Jones.Show. And he has a lot of the type of celebrities when you're of a certain age, you're like, oh my God, he has her on his show. So he's had Pat Benatar, Aaron Barakovich,
Suzanne Summers, Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley. And really, as you know, here's what's interesting about Ruby. Ruby is fiction, but Ruby is inspired by reality. Because I've done this podcast for now, I'm on my 5th season with Jones.Show, and I have been influenced and interviewed so many extraordinary women and men. Stedman Graham is in there.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Stedman's amazing. And all of these people have shaped me so much. They've shaped my belief system. They've shaped how I want to live my life. And that's Ruby's role in the book. She is the teacher. She's inspiration. She is the guide. She's mysterious because the book, when I say it's not a whodunit, it's a who is she? So you're trying to figure out
they really are, because everybody starts to get like, because Ruby has this ability. I'm not going to say what it is, but she seems to know things.
It was interesting. A friend of mine, Nettie, read it early, and Nettie said, Ruby knows a lot. Ruby knows too much. Well, that became a line of dialogue after Nettie. That came out of Nettie's mouth. Ruby knows a lot. She's plugged into the universe. Ruby knows a lot.
And she's not the town gossip. So everybody's kind of going, how did she get this information? It's really fun. It's a fun read. Real quick, I want everybody to know that this is a Mark Victor Hansen publication for the Mark Victor Hansen Library. And for those of you who don't know, if you've ever seen the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, that was produced by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen.
500 million books sold.
Oh my God.
Now Ruby's only at 400 million so far. So I'm kidding. Oh my God. There's somebody in Australia now going, really? No. I'm kidding. Yeah,
I love Ruby. Ruby. we got to get Brian Smith on from Uggs, because when he was on my show, he swore every other word. And that's Australia, you know. Could you see like a tough Australian man going, oh, I love Ruby. Oh, I can relate.
You know what? And you wouldn't automatically think men would gravitate to it, but they are.
Yeah. Well,
and straight men are gravitating to it. I try to cast a wide net. So if you look at my podcast, I have always tried to find the truth, find the lesson, find the information from the guest that can help the biggest, broadest range of people. I say casting a wide net. So, you know, if I talk to Suzanne Summers, I don't talk about the TV show Three's Company hardly at all, because you can watch that. And, you know, I talked, what has your life taught you and how can other people benefit from that?
You know, you and I have a very similar strategy. This is why Randy and I
here's the deal. We basically do the same the reason we're so tight is we do the same exact type of podcast in two different places. They really could be sister podcasts, and we've recognized this for quite some time. There's a real similarity to our approach, how we approach life, how we approach the importance of showcasing the guest to make that guest shine every single time. To make that guest shine and look their best.
Because I don't feel it's about me. My job is to get up off my tuchus early in the morning and for a couple of days do my research, and then just watch a couple of podcasts they've been on or listen to a few shows. And I never ask the questions they get asked by most podcasts, because everybody's listening. Oh, that they're interviewing my favorite person again, and it's the same pedantic stuff. And I don't want that. I want more of, So how did you overcome alcoholism? And those are the kind of things. You reminded me of this. You know who John Gillerman was? He was the director for the Towering Inferno and King Kong.
Oh, well, that, yeah, I do.
Yeah, the
Now
Jeff
that you said, yes,
Bridges,
absolutely.
the Jeff Bridges version. I interviewed her, and I think I spent 10 minutes on her husband. That was it. And she was surprised at the end of the interview because I started to come to the realization that they were both bipolar. That was the story. And so he would be the manic, up and creative and doing all these, and then he would crash. And she did the same, but they never had their bipolar, situations at the exact same time. So as I'm talking to her, she actually cured herself of it by doing this particular type of training she learned.
Mhm.
And I turned the whole interview back to her and the work she was doing, the astounding work she was doing in the bipolar community, people who had manic depressive episodes. At the end, she just looked at me like, I've never done an interview like this.
Well,
So,
I do mental health
you
stuff
do
all
that
the
too.
time. Yeah, I
You
do
do
mental
that
health stuff
too.
all the time. Yep. Dr. Judy Ho, who is
Yeah.
the clinician for the doctors. Ginger Z from ABC News. My heart, I love you, Ginger Z. One of the best people I've ever met in my life. But her platform is mental health.
Right.
Her passion as a scientist is weather. And I say, as a scientist, don't call her a weather girl. She'll slap you upside the head. Actually, she's the best on social media. People say the most horrible things in the world to Ginger Z on social media, and she shares them all.
Yeah.
She shares them all. It's just, and she always has the most amazing comeback. I don't know how she does it, but she's such an advocate for mental health and mental health now. And I was told by a mental health professional that I'm dealing with some mental health in Ruby. There's some, you would agree, mild. I'm not trying to be a clinician, but I had a mental health professional that said I handled it correctly.
Oh, nice.
Now, I will say that was an accident.
Mhm.
I think I just handled the issues. Well, they were Cynthia's issues that she went through as thoughtfully as I could possibly handle them.
Wow.
But yeah, I had somebody tell me I handled that correctly. And I think by osmosis, you pick that up. I mean, I've talked to so many people on mental health. I've actually done
Yeah.
a show on date rape. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I've done a show on child abuse. They're very, very difficult. As soon as somebody presents a show topic to me and I'm afraid of it and it scares me, yeah, you're nodding because you know exactly. We say yes. As soon as we're afraid of the topic, we say yes because you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to. I mean, you and I are built the same. That's why I crack up at this. We met, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago at a Leah Woodford event in Arizona.
Mhm.
And you were the toast of the whole thing, even though we had celebrities there, because you just, you got Dr. Suki Stone. She wanted to kiss you. So that was
We
the
did.
big
I locked lips with Dr. Suki Stone on stage, and it was her. She was the one who brought forward the lips, and I said thank you, and I
You
accepted
can't
them.
deny your fans. You
You
just
do
cannot.
not. You do not. You do not deny the fans. I keep saying I've got 7 of them, and those 7 people, I have to take very good care of those people because they can become 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 overnight. So I got to take care. Yeah.
Well, I think what we're kind of hearkening to, or whatever the
I love
right
that word,
word,
hearkening. We're
um,
hearkening.
is we like people, and we like to
Yes.
go into the soft spots that have caused trauma and gently get the audience to hear it, because I want people to lean forward on my show, and I know you do as well.
Mhm.
I want, we know the celebrity, we know that person from the thousands of hours of TV we may have watched of them or whatever, but I want those weirdos, the outliers, the person that's making waves, and everybody sits there and he goes, well, that's a conspiracy theory. Well, this guy does this or this gal does that, and here's the truth. And I want to get inside their head. And all of a sudden people are sitting back going, I didn't know that.
If you give people the option to say what they want to say, and as you know, that's a challenge, but you need to make sure they know we don't have to go down a path. There's no path. There's no rules. You can break the rules. You can correct me. You can ask me a question. I tell the guests that Melissa Rivers, Joan Rivers' daughter, did my show this year, and I probably had the best parenting discussion I've ever had with anyone in a very fun way. about different styles of parenting and funny stuff with my kids and her mother. And I didn't necessarily expect it to be parenting, but when you do what we do and what we're ultimately teaching is to pay attention, listen, stay in the moment, and engage with that person on, Rita Rudner says, ride the horse in the direction it's going. Ride the horse in the direction it's going, which I love that. Ride the horse in the direction it's going. I love that. She's talking about that really more globally on a professional level, but it works on a day-to-day basis too. You don't have to go with the expected topics.
And,
You can
I
go
love
with
that
the
you don't.
unexpected.
I love that you don't do that. I mean, you've had Pat Benatar on your show many, many times, and
Well,
part of
okay, we're going to correct that. I've had her on once, but she's coming back now that she is in the rock and roll.
Who was it that
Hall
you
of
had on
Fame.
many, many?
Erin Brockovich is on every season.
Okay,
Erin Brockovich is a regular. Rita Rudner, I just promoted to regular because she's been on 3 times now. And I said, you're a regular, whether you like it or not. She said, I'll come back anytime. So Rita Rudner is now a regular. So Dr. Judy Ho kind of is, because she comes on and you can't beat that. She's a clinical psychologist. I can't beat that connection. Ginger Z's done the show twice, not exactly a regular, but when I become obsessed with these people, I always say to them, the people I interview, is I don't interview, I adopt. You're laughing because you know it's true.
It is. I know you.
You know how often I still talk to Lisa Guerrero. I'm in fairly regular. I talk to Lisa Guerrero pretty regularly. We either sometimes just through social media or our text or something.
Yeah.
And from she was the person who spoke before me at the event and did my show, the event we were met at, and did my podcast a few years ago on bravery. And Lisa Guerrero spin on bravery is one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard.
Yeah,
and I still I promote that show that's 4 or 5 years old now all the time still, because I think it's such an important show for girls and women to hear.
Right.
And she's with Inside Edition. If you know the name, you don't know who she is. She's the investigative reporter, and she's fearless. And she is absolutely somebody that I have stayed in touch with. I've adopted her, but I've also adopted her cause. I've adopted Leanne Toohey from The Blind Side big time.
Oh,
she did the show. If you're drinking, you've drunk. Yeah, I'm at the name dropping part right now. We're name dropping. Every time I name drop, throw it back. Just obsessed with her.
Right.
Leanne Toohey is the coolest, the most energetic, the funniest, I don't even have enough to say. I will say about Leanne Toohey, I have become very enlightened to the importance of nonprofit work. In my world as a creative consultant, same as your world, we're on the same path a lot. I had always done for-profit. And I started working 3 years ago with an organization called the Immokalee Foundation, and I help support these young, from kindergarten through post-secondary education, the educational needs for these young people in a migrant farming community outside of Naples, Florida. So 35 miles away from all the money in the world is this small town of migrant farming families where they sometimes they feed the world, can't even feed their own family.
That's pathetic. And this is the craziest part. This is
and
where
it's in Ruby. You saw that was in Ruby.
I was just going to say, this is where art meets real life. You connected all the dots of real life stuff. Yeah, it's in the book.
But once again, my belief system was shifted by that and by getting involved with that. And Leanne Toohey didn't get me involved in that because I just met her recently. But she's kind of, to me, the queen of nonprofit and giving. She said to me, Brad, and this is when I do my keynotes and I talk about what I've learned from people. My new one with her is there's a difference between donating a coat to a coat drive and going up and giving a coat to someone on the street who is cold and needs it.
Yeah.
I just fell over. That had such a huge impact.
Yeah.
Huge impact. And nonprofit and doing for others has been part of my platform the whole time, and trying to create content, whether it's Ruby or Jones.Show or whatever, that could help people. That's always been there. But this is a new level of that. And Leanne Toohey she's the bomb, man. She's, She
this
doesn't
come with
disappoint. Aaron Brockovich doesn't disappoint
no?
in real life. She's a huge influence. Aaron Brockovich's thing is right, wrong. Right being
Wow.
the verb, wrong being the noun. She wants to right, wrong.
Wow.
And right, wrong is in Ruby. I mean, what can I say? It's the concept is there. So I did a podcast. I do a podcast where I openly say I look for the best in people. And I created a fiction book that to a very
Yep.
large extent was inspired by the best in, God, I've been doing this 10 years, 300 people.
It's actually in your bio. You look for the best in people.
I do. You know what? And it was who I was younger. What I discovered when I started doing the interviews for the newspaper column, which became the first book. And you know what? Because I'm really great, I have my visual aids here. Show
Look
Me.
at you.
Yay! Show Me was my first book.
I loved it. Yes.
Show Me was my first book, a series of interviews of looking for the best in people. After the book came out, I missed it. So I started the podcast. And then the follow-up really to the podcast, the new people was the inspiration for Ruby. And it's just a better way to live. And I started this all around 50. When I was around 50, I missed the idealistic young Randy.
Oh, you talk about that. Wait, you talk about this in the book as well.
Yeah,
But it's one of the characters in the book.
yes, it
You
is.
missed, yeah, I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, you got to pick up a copy of this because if you know Randy, what starts to happen is you start to resonate with some of his deeper issues, as well as his dreams, his loves, what he's doing, and it all comes out in all these characters. And what I really loved is your character development. Each character, I know where they stand, I know what they're about, and I know what their potential is as you bring it out.
Thank you, because it's a wicked short book.
I was shocked. There's so much
37,000 words. That's incredibly short.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for something. There's a scene where Ruby is basically singing at this home for people who have, dementia and things. It's a nursing home, right?
Well, that was important to me. I've dealt with my mother. My mother's name is Nellie Pearl Jones. She passed away. Nellie Pearl in the book is my mother.
Oh,
that character is my mother. That is absolutely inspired on what she did, her activities and who she became when she was in memory care. Memory care to me is something huge. And I think it's so mystical because I've seen it with my mother. I've seen it down here in Naples. And I just wanted to explore. And what was the words that I said it in the thing? What happens when the concepts of memory and care join forces?
Yes, that was great. Yeah.
I've seen so many people do such extraordinary work for people with dementia and with Alzheimer's. And I've seen so many Alzheimer's and dementia patients shock me with what they actually know and what they're really tuned into.
Yeah.
And obviously that's explored. Obviously that is explored in this book. Yeah.
The reason I wanted to thank you is my mother suffered from bipolar disorder, and she, wound up in a place we called Phil Haven in Pennsylvania, which was a place for people who, what we used to call a nervous breakdown back in the 70s. Yeah. And, but as my mom got older, my mom was a professional singer. She would sing at these retirement homes. And so when you had that scene where the character is singing, and it just brought back all these memories.
You want me to really blow you away on a backstory? Okay.
Sure.
Ruby goes to the retirement home, to the memory care place to perform for them.
Right.
And Annie is a character and Annie is inspired by a man I met here in Naples who has Alzheimer's or dementia, but he has a baby grand piano in his little room and he can play anything. He can play anything. Well, I also spent time with Kim Campbell discussing Glenn Campbell's movie, The I'll Be Me, where he went on tour with Alzheimer's. And I will tell you, if you can see I'll Be Me, I guarantee you, please watch that movie. It's so powerful, but don't think you can do it without Kleenex, because you can't.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah, no, it will wreck you at the end. And I've spent time with his wife, Kim, about that. So Annie, though, I have a favorite Christmas song.
Yeah.
And I've had it for quite some time. I wonder as I wander.
Yes.
Haunting,
Yeah.
beautiful. And if you don't immediately recognize it, we've got Google. That's the point.
Yeah.
Look it up. I worked in theater in Northern Virginia as an actor and a director for years. And for 20 years, I was friends with and worked with a gentleman named John Edward Niles, not knowing that his father was John Jacob Niles, who was responsible for the song I Wonder as I Wander. I didn't know until probably 10 years ago. And to be able to put my friend's father's song in the book in a meaningful way, because the whole idea about wandering in search of what is next is a very common universal issue, and wondering what's going to happen. Those two words together became really Cynthia.
Yeah.
So when that song is sung to her, and she asks the character to come up and play the piano, that's actually that's the name of the actual young girl that John Jacob Niles was inspired to write the song with in 1920, whatever. That's her. Annie. Annie is the actual name. And when he would say, because she actually wrote it with him, essentially, if I'm describing this right, because it was an Appalachian tune of some sort, and he was trying to understand it so he could capture it. And he would say to Annie, "Can you sing it again? Can you sing it again?" And she would say to him, "I will for a quarter."
That was
and
hysterical.
my Annie plays the piano. "Will you play it again?" My Annie, the piano player with Alzheimer's, says, "I will for a quarter." Yeah. So all of those, I mean, I've got goosebumps telling that one. The process of creating it and weaving in all these little nuggets of beauty of things that had happened to me and things said to me. And I also wrote one chapter a week, which you know me, I like everything done right away. I wrote one chapter a week. I had a very small group of people who read the next chapter, and I would have discussions with them. And based on what was making sense to them and resonating is how I would, kind of clean it up, explain aspects better. And so the first 3 chapters I wrote like 5 years ago, then picked it up and made the edits Mark Victor Hansen one, and then wrote the next 9. So I wrote it like in 9-10 weeks, but by being patient, which is not my thing. Being patient is not my thing. Yeah.
Me neither. When I write, it's I learned how to write dialogue by doing that.
Dialogue for me was easy. Is dialogue easy for you? I thought it would be awful, and dialogue was incredibly easy. My dialogue in the book is 80% what I wrote the first time.
Yeah.
Cynthia's monologue at the end, swear to you, it's 80-90% what I wrote when I was first at the keyboard.
It's here's what I did. I took about 3 years of my life in my 8 years as a professional stand-up comedian. I took writing classes and acting and improv and all these things just to get better. And what I started to realize when I was writing, I was doing sitcom and screenwriting classes, and I would, you do your scene and you hand it out to people, and then they're going back and forth, and you're sitting there going, "This is horrible. What did I just do?" You wrote so I went back and I realized dialogue is a tennis volley match. The back and forth and describing, and were they terse when they responded, and slowly, painfully, I got good at writing dialogue. I mean,
to me, I just listened to whatever happened. It was just effortless. I'm just writing, and the next line came, and the next line came, and the next line came, and I knew what needed to be accomplished in the dialogue, but that didn't mean that I knew how it was going to happen.
Right.
And I personally love a lot of the dialogue, without giving too much away, when she goes to Spellman's and she's at the cafe.
Linda,
and
I know.
And there's people around. There's some extra guests around there, and so much of that was just spontaneously happened. And there's another, and it's funny. I look at Ruby. There's a whole lot of time spent, sitting around a table and eating or drinking. Well, that's what we do.
Well, I grew up near the South. I was in the very, very southern end in the beginning of my life. in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from Virginia and Maryland. Hagerstown, Maryland is literally a 15-minute drive. So all my relatives they called me Brad for a number of years. Wonder Bread. Yeah. So what did we do? I would crawl under the kitchen table, and we had a big round kitchen table in the, the middle of as you headed, away from the refrigerator and everything. And relatives would come over and they would drink coffee and have a little dessert or whatever my grandmother had just cooked, because they owned a restaurant. So she would test a recipe on family, and they would, sip coffee and smoke cigarettes and talk. And that's how it was.
And frankly, even at our age, because these people are 59 to 90, we sit and talk around a table a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not like, I guess I could have put, two old people at a recumbent bike side by side. I could have done that, but I actually wanted the focus to be on the communication.
Yeah.
So I didn't want a whole lot of extra stuff going on around them.
I'm gonna read just a section, because one of my favorite authors, Frank Herbert, he does what you are doing, and that is he doesn't waste a word, and every paragraph drives the story. There is nothing wasted. If there's a detail in there, it's going to come up later on as to why. And so you have
the Easter eggs, but then you plant the little Easter eggs, and then you have to make a list of them to make sure that you don't leave yourself exposed, and you need to make sure you cover everything. So
okay. Where do I want to? There were so many great ones that I dog-eared. Okay, let me do this one. Okay.
I have no. By the way, I have no idea what he's going to do. So to you and Sydney, I do not know. This
is when Cynthia goes to visit Janet for, I guess, the second or third time in the book, and she meets the new RN. Okay.
My friend Sonia, who actually is, and that's based on my friend Sonia, who has actually been a nurse her entire life. Yeah.
Now I want everybody to hear this. This is the how the dialogue is written, and the driving force of getting us to Cynthia, the character. Her sister is in the home with dementia, and so there has to be this tenderness with it. But it's like Cynthia spotted Janice sitting by herself, gazing into space. Judging from her tranquil expression, Cynthia knew that wherever Janice was, she was content. Cynthia longed to visit her there. "Excuse me, Mrs. Grant." Cynthia turned her head to see an unfamiliar woman headed her way. The name tag and reddish purple uniform T-shirt tipped her off that the woman worked at the facility. "I'm Sonia Walls, the new RN for this shift. I wanted to introduce myself." She extended her hand. A few years younger than Cynthia, Sonia had a smile that competed with the nearby Christmas tree in brightness and intensity. Add her luscious Georgia drawl, and you could almost see Sonia drip with sweetness. "I'm so happy to meet you," Cynthia replied. "I was told there was a new person on the way. You're doing God's work here, and I'm so grateful to everyone on the staff for being so good to my sister, for giving her a home." "That's what I wanted to ask you about. Your sister Janice Kiger Yates," stated as if she had been studying all night to memorize the 3 components of the name before engaging Cynthia in conversation. "Is there a problem?" Cynthia looked surprised. "Oh, Lord, no." Yeah, I almost want to go, "Oh, Lord, no." Like that. Sonia
go for it. Sonia, go for it. Yep.
"Oh, Lord, no." Sonia laughed and turned her smile up a notch brighter, a time-honored Southern method of apologizing for causing an unnecessary fuss. "It's just that I try to get to know my patients on a more personal level. Not the easiest thing to do in this line of work, but I'm convinced it makes a difference in my ability to communicate with them. And Janice has already become one of my favorites." Cynthia nodded her head in appreciation. "Did you read her file?" Sonia sat on the nearby sofa, patted the cushion with her hand, Southern for "let's sit a spell and chat." Cynthia had never figured out how long a spell was, but she agreed and sat beside Sonia, who explained, "Oh, yes, I don't want to pry, but I want to know what's not in the file. The little things are important too." How's that, folks?
Well, I wondered if you're going to do that. I don't know how long a spell is. How
Yeah.
long is a spell? And I loved that because I wrote that because I was like, I'm not sure how long a spell is, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm from Missouri and it's not south, but it is. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's
Missouri.
you know, I get these people, and I'm obsessed with Savannah, Georgia, which is where it takes place. I love Savannah, Georgia. I've never been, which is so tragic. So if
What?
anybody from Savannah
Holy,
is, yeah,
you
you
gotta
all need,
go.
yeah, I've got to go. And it's
You're in
only a
Florida, for
7-hour
God's
drive.
sake.
I know,
Get in a
I know.
car.
Now, I did have my friend Andrea, who was born and raised there, and God bless her, because Andrea, who actually is the power realtor at the end in that last scene,
Yeah.
was my eye. She was my eyes and ears. She was like, "This is right. This is wrong. Do this. Do this." I mean, she really kept me true to Savannah as best I could, and
Right.
I can't think of a town I would rather explore to write about than
Right.
Savannah, Georgia. It's heaven. It's
It is.
heaven to write
It
about.
is. Real quick, do we have any people on the line questioning, talking, or anything like that? Do you see anybody?
I don't, because I don't even know where I would look.
Let me see. Okay, I'm in the Awakened Nation, the group, and let's see what's going on here. I may have to.
Everybody's drunk now, because if they played that every time you drink when you hear the word Ruby, or drink when you have a name drop, we've name dropped a lot.
Yeah, we did.
And
I don't see any questions here, but I know it's. I just want everybody to go out if they can, and really pick up a copy of this book. It's also in whatchamacallit? It's also in Kindle. Am I correct?
Well, if you want the real wonderful news, for those who are listening right now, Amazon has the ebook on sale for 99 cents.
What?
Yes. I
So
mean,
you have
I'm not
no
sure. I
excuse.
don't control that. So the publisher
have
and
no
Amazon have something going
excuses.
on. So if you want to go on right now and get the ebook for a whopping 99 cents, this would be a good time to do that. And it's funny, some people would rather spend the $20 and get the real book anyway. And I'm one of those people.
Yes.
I'm more of a,
I like to hold a book, and I
I
like to
do.
read a book.
Yeah.
I guess that's all old fashioned now.
Well, I love too to, how many shows, I don't know how many you do, but I do shows with authors all the time. Now, that doesn't mean being an author is their full-time profession.
No.
But I did a show with Lizzie Post from the Emily Post Institute, and I
Right.
believe we've hooked you up, and hopefully you'll be able to chat with her. I mean, 100-year anniversary of the Emily Post etiquette, and Emily Post
Is in the
pops
book.
up in Ruby, doesn't she?
Yes.
I
she
mean,
does.
it was like Aaron Brockovich pops up in Ruby.
Yeah.
Ginger Z, Hoda Kotb, they pop up
Linda
in Ruby.
Spellman.
Linda Spellman, my friend Linda Spellman, is in Ruby. Erin Moriarty from ABC, from CBS and 48 Hours.
Yeah.
And she's such a brilliant journalist. So, well, I tell you, I'll give you one little hint of something that when I moved to Naples, I wanted to meet people in my new community, and I was a writer. And so I went to the Naples Daily News. I said, does anybody interview these wildly successful people who come here? They said, no, do you want to do it? I said, yes. And I don't want money, because I want a book, because I wanted to own the content. So that is exactly, and I will give it away, plot point, that Cynthia becomes a columnist for the newspaper.
It's so
as a way to find her way, because I did that. I did the exact same thing. But if you will notice now, my friend Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri, original voice of Siri, my friend Susan, and she noticed this, in Ruby, there is not one instance of technology, not one text.
I noticed that.
Not one phone call. This is a woman who is a columnist, and we don't even see her type.
Right.
Because to me, I'm not being subtle. I'm trying to emphasize actual communication. I don't need to see another movie where where the camera is filming somebody's telephone on a text. Why would you do that? I mean, and then you date it, 20 years from now. I mean, look at War Games with Matthew Broderick, Whopper.
Yeah.
Want to play a game? And it's, you know, it's a ridiculously old computer.
Yeah.
And
It's one of the first. So
the technology dates your product. Janet Ivanovich she told me she's what, almost 29, 70 plum novels now. She
yeah.
actually at one point in time said to, I think, the publisher, do I need to go back and update the technology? Well, no, literally, Janet's the Stephanie Plum series of books is technology for 20, 25 years.
Well,
Because
hold on
she
now.
has the technology that was available then. So she's like she's technological history in the Stephanie Plum novels because she wrote
Hold
about what was
on.
there.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a fan of Stranger Things, but it's become a fascinating show for Gen X. I mean, I love watching it as a boomer, but for Gen X, because it's a walk down memory lane, the nostalgia part of it, because there is no cell phones yet. The kids do go out all day long. The kitchen phone on the wall with the long cord is in that show. So everybody's watching it,
I'm
looking
obsessed with Stranger
for.
Things.
Love
I
it.
love Stranger Things. And guess what kind of car I drove back then?
What?
A Pinto. So every time Winona Ryder gets in that god awful orange Pinto, it's taking me home. It is taking me home.
There were two colors, ladies and gentlemen. If you had to live through it, there were two colors that came out in the 70s, and everybody either did their shag carpeting in these colors, or their refrigerator, or the wallpaper, and that is avocado green
and
and this
orange.
burnt orange.
Yeah.
And my mother did the whole house, the whole second floor, in burnt orange with accent avocado green walls, and it was a homage to the 70s. I'll tell you.
We had orange shag carpet, get this, in our bathroom.
Oh my God.
Oh, and poor Nellie Pearl. Nellie Pearl did not know. To be fair to, you know, Mom actually had good design sense, but you know, she did not understand that it was actually a germ trap in the bathroom. She didn't know.
Well, my dad, we had a double wide brownstone, 3 stories in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, on the main street there. And so my mom always wanted a fireplace. And if you know anything about those Victorian era brownstones, you did have a hallway with a long banister and staircase that came down, but each room, the 3 rooms that were lined up, living room, middle room, and then the bedroom in the back, they also had a door. You could walk like a cable car from one bedroom to the next, or one room to the next. So my dad put a bookshelf in the doorway of my mom and dad's bedroom, and the door was permanently locked. Then on the other side, when my dad redid the house, so you know, when the green and the avocado and burnt orange, he found paneling that looked like brick pressed into the board. He built a fake fireplace for her. And it was sort of an orangey brick kind of look with a lot of white on it. So it looked really cool, but it was like, okay, we're in the 1970s. So
my friend Jennifer's house, she's got the pink tile in the bathroom and all this stuff. And it's so she hasn't swapped out any of it because the house is probably 50 years old now.
Pink and black was popular.
And it's pink and black. And where I went to her house, I went, you can't change any of this. She's like, I would not dream of it.
Change nothing.
I mean, literally, her kitchen hasn't been done in 50 years, and it's fascinating. She's got the wooden cabinets. I mean, real wood.
You just have to upgrade the sconces. That's it. And maybe
I was like, oh my God, please never touch anything in this house. And she has it.
We had pink and black in our bathroom, and we had that porcelain sink that had the 2 metal poles that held it up. You know, my dad would shave there, and there was no shelf space. Okay, so you had the medicine cabinet, and that was it. And then we had a closet over on to the right of everything. But yeah.
Did you pick up on, I don't know if you're from doilies. My grandma always had doilies.
Yes.
Did you pick up when she goes into Etta's house?
There's no dust.
She picks up the doily, and there's no dust pattern.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know what
no dust. And I was like, I want to see how many people get this, because we've all been there. You pick it up. The person who doesn't dust, you see a dust pattern underneath the doily, but in Etta's house, there was no dust pattern, which was cause for alarm and applause, because that means Edda's in there taking care of her house.
Well,
I was so curious to see how many people would know the dustpan. So
a lot of people don't know what a doily is, and for those of you who don't know, whenever you put a lamp, well, first of all, you had a television set that was a big console. You know, it was like 2 feet deep, made of wood, all this. So you put something on top of the TV, so when the TV was off, it looked beautiful. So we had, I think we had a lamp on top of ours, or an urn or something. Well, a doily was almost like a coaster for putting things down that were big.
kind of, yeah.
It's like a coaster, but it was made. It was usually macrame, and it was beautifully made, and you laid it down. It was very, very intricately woven, and so we had them all over the house. So when you mentioned doilies, those are the things that kind of went out of fashion. And it might be one of those words I used to play on Friday night. What's the one word you still use that gets you strange looks from family and friends? And one of them is, like Davenport, an old word that we don't really use anymore.
Hashtag doilies forever. Hashtag doilies forever. Hashtag doilies. Grandma Jones had doilies, and if Mary Lou Jones had doilies, everyone should have a doily.
I agree. 100%.
I don't have a doily, but I should.
You don't? But you should.
Can I tell you a couple? I have to tell you, for anybody too. Yes, please read it. Do let me know. Reach out. RandallKennethJones.com is how you find it. You can really find everything. You can contact me through there.
Randall with 2 L's.
Yep. Yeah. You can find out about the book there. You can find the podcast there. Everything there. Vanessa Williams's mother, Miss Helen.
You've had her on the show, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I basically, because my mother passed away, a friend of ours that had introduced me to Miss Helen arranged for her to come back. I got to borrow Vanessa Williams's mother for my Mother's Day show this year.
That's awesome.
And I love Miss Helen.
Awesome.
And Miss Helen was an inspiration for Etta, the character, because the character of Etta was a lifelong teacher, as you know. She had devoted her life to education, and that's big with me. Teachers, I think, are everything. So I'm all about education. And Helen Williams is all about education. She taught for years. I got a note back. Miss Helen read the book.
You're kidding.
No, I sent her the book, and I got a note back, a note with a handwritten note that Etta was now her role model. I thought I was going to lose it that Miss Helen said this, because she just touched me. I had somebody I don't know who sent me a note, and she said, I had a Ruby moment today.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, what happened? And she said, I was at a bookstore, and there was a small child looking at a book, and the grandmother, she guessed it was, wouldn't let her have it. And she got the feeling it was because they couldn't afford it. Not that there wasn't a desire for the child to have it. She said, well, I didn't want to overstep, but I thought, what would Ruby do? I went over, I picked up the book, I bought it, and I took it, and I gave it to the child.
Nice.
And I was like, and I'm not going to tell you that Ruby does this in the book. My book, she doesn't, but she would. She would.
What would Ruby do?
Yeah. What would Ruby do?
WWRD.
She would absolutely do that. And just to hear this person tell me that she bought a book for a child because she wanted to know what would Ruby do, what else could I ever ask for? I mean, am I expecting a Pulitzer Prize? No. Do I care? No. I don't. I just care about creating content that means something to people and can help them maybe live a better life. That's really all I care about.
We go on Amazon, ladies and gentlemen, and order this. It's just a fun read, and it's quick. I mean, you can read it in at your leisure over 2 days. If you sit in a main session, you could probably do it in 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful read, quick read, action packed. There's a lot going on, a lot of details. There's one scene in the book where I'm saying, yeah, this is the Golden Girls, the ladder and the
oh yeah. Well, the ladder. What did I say? The disorganized crime.
Yes, disorganized crime.
Erin Moriarty from 48 Hours is on her way to Savannah to report
that. Yeah, I saw that line.
The disorganized crime in Savannah. Yeah, it was disorganized crime.
I love the book. I love the character development. Like, immediately I understood who Paula was. Smart ass, fiery, living life to the fullest. She's on her 6th husband. She's
Well, let's
teaching.
tell them what it is. She's had 6 husbands, and they don't call any of her husbands by their name.
It's
They refer
6,
to her husbands as
2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she now refers to the current husband by calling him
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, and there was a great snippy line. I forget who said it, but they got, and her comeback was, if I wanted a gay husband, I would have stayed with number 2, the florist.
Yeah. Number 4, and what did not two's design aesthetic, 4's endowment,
Yeah.
6's investment. She
All she
listed
said
how
was
she could have
endowment.
how she could find the perfect husband if she could put all of 6 of them together. So
Yeah. And then Cynthia, you get that character right away. Abe is a little more mysterious, but I love Streep, and that's his nickname. So
we didn't actually say Streep is the original book. Cynthia was 50. Mark Victor Hansen wanted. This is one of 6 books in the series.
Oh, okay.
Right. So there's 5 other authors that so far have created 5 other stories in Savannah Valley with characters that are older. So Mark said, I need Cynthia to be older. So Cynthia, in the original 3 chapters I wrote, had 2 teenagers named Kevin and Mary Beth, named after my kids. So I had to call my own children and say, my publisher cut you from the book. Bye. And I'm like, yeah, that was awful.
Love you.
Yeah.
Click.
Love you. Bye-bye. And so I have to tell them they got cut. But I really felt I needed another character type in there. And probably this is the most inventive, because there are things that are recognizable. I will admit, I want things to be recognizable, whether it's doilies or whatever that are familiar characters and other things, but I want things to be a surprise. And Meryl Boggs is a character who is 59 and lives his life through Meryl Streep. So much so that Meryl Boggs is actually called Streep. He does everything he does, and he responds in the way that Meryl Streep would in movie. You pick your movie and enter your movie. And to have him living his life parallel to Meryl Streep's resume was wildly fun to write.
Wow.
Wildly fun. I will say, how much of you, I do want to play that role in the movie. I will tell you there. When he has the nervous breakdown, and I won't go on, but when he has the real breakdown, I wrote that scene for me. I'm the only one who should really be allowed to do that scene in the movie.
You should. But I could see you doing this in the movie.
My friend Todd really was actually also a huge influence on that character. So it's kind of both. It's both Todd and I that were inspired that. So.
Well, we're coming to the end of our hour, and I do have to have a hard stop at my time. It'll be 10:59. But ladies and gentlemen, please go out and get Randy's book. Oh my God, I just loved reading it. And one of the best things you can do is get the book, leave a review as well, enjoy the book, but I want you to save it, because if you run into Randy, he'll sign it. But here's the bigger thing. You want to be the person who can say, I have the book. I was the first person to support this, and now it's on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. I'll take any channel. We will take it. And I you know what? I do think it'll happen. I do.
I do too. And Mark Victor Hansen is probably going to be the champion behind that. So anything you want to say before we say
RandallKennethJones.com, get that in there. I have so much fun. I'm so lucky. I mean, I'm so lucky that I get to do this. I'm 60 years old. I've always said there is no expiration date on our ability to contribute or be creative or create. I'm living that life. I am that role model. I want to be that role model. And I want people, write the book, record the song, start the garage band, do what you want to do and create and contribute. No one can tell you no at any point in time. No one should tell you no. You should live the life you want to live and be the creative force that you want to be, because without purpose, you really don't have much of a life. And Ruby's definitely teaching that.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy, for being once again on Awakened Nation, my friend. Go out, ladies and gentlemen, and pick up the book. Arrivederci. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.